I'm Marcia Herbert, Vice President of the Board of Education. I would like to welcome all of you to the August 14th Board meeting. In keeping with the Board's commitment to open communication with the community, this meeting is being streamed live on the CPS website at www.carrollk12.org and broadcast live on Channel 21. We are also recording this meeting so that it can be accessed on demand through the website and broadcast throughout the month on Channel 21. We would like to remind you that because this is a live broadcast, anyone who participates in the meeting needs to use the microphone. Later in the meeting, time will be provided for citizens to address the board regarding topics on the agenda or other items of concern, except for items related to personnel. Persons wishing to address the board should fill out a blue card, and they are located in the back on the table near the entrance to the room, and pass it to the superintendent or the board president prior to the conclusion of the scheduled citizen participation. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a moment of silence, and, this is new, the national anthem. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. And for the national anthem. Thank you. And we will continue this each month, and we will have elementary, middle, and high school. Yes, that's very nice. All right, board members, do we have a motion to approve the agenda for this evening?
So moved.
And it was moved by Tara and seconded by?
I'll second it.
And all in favor? Aye. The motion is passed. All right. Now we will move on then, if that's it. We will move on to, do I have a motion for the approval of the minutes for the unapproved work session meeting minutes for East Middle School discussion July 10th, 2019?
So
Moved
moved.
by Tara and seconded by Kenny. All right. Do we have any discussion on any corrections on these minutes? All right, I call for the vote. All right. And the motion is passed unanimously. Now I will call for, do I have a motion to approve the unapproved board meeting minutes for July 10th? Do I have a motion?
So moved.
And by Tara and seconded by Ms. Pat. Thank you.
And it is the revised.
Yes,
version.
this is a revised version. Do we have any discussion? And we call for the vote. And it is unanimously approved. All right. At this time now, we will move on to public comment. And since I'm acting president tonight, Mr. Kyler will be in charge of comments tonight by the public.
To have an orderly presentation of comments by the public, the following guidelines apply. Citizen participation is not intended to be a question and answer session. However, if citizens have specific questions, the superintendent will assign a staff member to make contact during the board meeting to arrange a time to respond to questions. The superintendent board reserve the right to correct misinformation presented as factual after the conclusion of the citizen participation period. Statements to the board should relate to a recent agenda item, an agenda item that is expected to appear in the future, or a matter of general policy over which the board has authority. Personnel matters, pending appeals, the actions or statements of individual staff, or items related to employee negotiations are not appropriate topics and may not be discussed. It is the intent of the board to allow all citizens an opportunity to speak. Therefore, the board has scheduled time on the agenda for citizen participation. The board reserves the right to limit the number of speakers on a particular topic so that all topics may be addressed. If 30 minutes have passed and there are citizens who have not addressed the board, additional time may be allotted later in the meeting. Comments are limited to 3 minutes or less. When the allotted time expires, the speaker is permitted to complete a sentence and return to the audience. The public may not display signs or posters during the board meeting. In lieu of signs, if you are unable to complete your comments in the allotted time, individuals are encouraged to submit remarks to the board in writing. I currently have 3 cards. If anybody else is sitting here who wants to do a card, please complete it and get it up to us. Our first person tonight will be Chris Nussbaum.
Madam Chairwoman, members of the board, I come today as a former CCPS student who is aware of and thankful for all the benefits of my education here. As I continue to watch the efforts of this board to create a more diverse and inclusive environment, I feel compelled to offer a word of caution. As I'm sure you've noticed by now, I am a blind person, which categorizes me as a member of a minority group. As a member of such a group, I am concerned that the requests for a certain percentage of minority representation in faculty and staff may do more harm than good. We try, as we always have, to hire our staff based on their credentials and qualifications. But some who have spoken at recent meetings seem to be advocating a quota. I warn you, you must not fall into the trap of hiring minority persons solely for the sake of their minority status. As a personal example, I once had a job at which my employer told me that, though my performance was good, it also, quote, looked good, close quote, for them to have a blind person on their payroll. What a patronizing attitude. Such an attitude creates no inclusion at all. Rather, it creates tokenism in its most harmful form. That comment told me that my qualifications weren't really what mattered. I was hired because I was a symbol of their supposed diversity. In other words, I was being used as a pawn. Please don't fall into that trap. I commend you for your recognition of our problems and your commitment to fixing them. I only ask that you keep in mind that the primary requirement for good faculty and staff is quality, not quantity. I conclude by asking you to include minority groups in all phases of your decision-making process. We know what we need, and we are prepared to consult with you. We only need your willingness to do the same. I appreciate your time and your commitment to equity for all. Thank you.
Thank you. The next person is Stacy Sagel. Did I pronounce that correctly?
It's okay. Sagel. Thank you for the opportunity to speak to you tonight. I come here, upsetting to me to be standing here tonight after months of asking for communication and transparency from your central office and now you, the board members. I watched last month's meeting where another mother who went above and beyond proving her case was again met with a runaround, and I'm here tonight addressing my similar frustrations with the lack of communication and concerns of parents. Specifically for us, we have spent the last 2 months in an appeal process which has proved to be nothing but a paper trail formality, sending us on a rabbit trail of signatures from various departments, each of whom automatically agree with a prior decision, regardless of the appeal's arguments, because there really is no intention of overturning any decisions. However, we took your appeal process very serious, and through hours of research wrote you a 30-page footnoted document proving how your early entrance assessment is unreasonable, goes against sound educational policy, and arbitrary. We have been in consistent communication with many people from central office trying to get information to address our concerns and are denied. My husband filed a Maryland Public Information Act, and just yesterday we finally received some sort of email, but with very little information spoken to the 8 requests submitted. On top of that, one of your employees dealing with our case wrote in one of her denial reasonings wrong information about my son's recommendation letter, citing it was from a golf coach when he's never played golf in his life. This confirmed our fears that our efforts are meaningless. You give September birthday kids a process to go through to allow them into kindergarten as they turn 5 the same month that school starts, and a lot of them actually might be ready, yet you value your rigid, unreasonable standards demanding a 4-year-old answer more than 300 questions in 2 hour-and-a-half time frames with a 90th percentile success rate and call that fair, reasonable, and sound educational practice. For a 4-year-old, for kindergarten, we cited numerous issues that with the testing and withholding of the grading rubric, all of which you reserve the right not to share. Baltimore County uses the standardized Woodcock-Johnson test, which assesses where the student is based on their current age. They sit down with their parents after the assessment and have a conversation about the results. I don't know why Carroll County decides not to have such transparency with their parents, and I'm not sure why they use their own assessment that they have no proof of its validity and have changed it more than 7 times in the last 10 years. And why does Carroll County think that it makes sense to anyone to prove that a student's academic success is based off a 300-question test to a 4-year-old in which they have to master end-of-the-year kindergarten benchmarks to even enter kindergarten? Why not just go to 1st grade then, I asked, to which I was given no answer. Your testing sets these kids up to fail, your appeal process sets me, the parent, up to fail, and there seems to be no intention of actually allowing your September birthday kids the same opportunities as other kindergartners. The lack of transparency, communication, and inability to answer our questions was disheartening and unreasonable. It seems this test is just designed so that you don't have to deal with students who fall right on that cutoff line. Rather, just hold them back an entire year than to spend the time and resources on a fair test and overall picture of the student as a whole. You gave our son 100% for his emotional and social readiness to enter kindergarten, and we gave you many reasons why we feel it will not be beneficial for our son to be the oldest in the class next year, but it doesn't matter. So what do we as the parent do
Please
when...
finish your thought.
Sure. What do we as the parent do when the county doesn't care about the opinion of our child and wants to our opinion of our child and wants to point to a test in which they reserve the right to not be transparent about? Thank you.
Thank you. Jason Sagal.
Good afternoon, distinguished board members. I wrote 2 footnoted essays totaling 30 pages which argued why the Carroll County early entrance assessment is arbitrary, unreasonable, and illegal. My arguments were either unconvincing or unread. I made numerous points how the assessment process was not transparent and seemed to be littered with secrecy. I submitted a request to Carroll County Public Schools using the Maryland Public Information Act to retrieve specific documentation that would at least help me move past the apparent roadblocks and possibly substantiate Carroll County Public Schools' position. I requested 8 items as follows: any documents showing how the early entrance screening assessment is scored, any documents showing what an area, point, or stay-9 indicates, and any documents showing how the different scores are collaborated, any documents showing the weight of each section, any notes taken during the assessment, who was the administrator of both assessments, any documents showing the procedures or rules for the administration of the assessment, any documents that show the scores of the EESA for the past 5 years, and documents showing how many applicants were either granted or denied, and any emails pertaining to Trent's application process. I received the following response just recently. Carroll County Public Schools have no documents showing how the EESA is scored. Carroll County Public Schools have no documents showing what an area, point, or stay-9 indicates. They have no documents showing how the different scores are collaborated. They have no documents showing the weight of each section. Carroll County Public Schools have no documents showing how the test is to be administered. Carroll County Public Schools have no documents showing how the scores of the EESA for the past 5 years. They have no documents showing the scores for the past 5 years or even this current year. And they have no documents showing how many applicants were either granted or denied. This lack of information bolsters my previous assertion and argument that the early entrance screening assessment is substantially flawed in the following ways. It's not standardized, as it claims. A rubric either does not exist or will not be provided. It's not objective, as it claims. Expectations aren't communicated until after the applicant takes the assessment. Its grading is ambiguous, it's counterintuitive in its process, and it's graded against the 90th percentile of end-of-the-year kindergarten benchmarks given to 4-year-olds 5 months before the start of kindergarten, which in turn represents 5% of their total life experience and learning. The grading is not consistent. For example, the literacy portion is measured in areas, mathematics is measured in points, and the cognitive portion is measured in stanines. How are they related? The objective guidelines for the administration is also noticeably absent. Carroll County has used 7 different kindergarten assessments since 2006, and all are asserted that they are valid and reliable predictors of kindergarten success, even though that research has definitively concluded that the assessment cannot measure that. In conclusion, I had hoped that my complaints and arguments were possibly based on unfounded speculation. However, it seems that uniformity in policy trumps the individual student. My hope is that my essay helps at least to change the current policy for future parents and future early entrance applicants. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next is Tracy Sutton.
Hi. I've lived in Carroll County for 16 years. I have 2 children that go to Carroll County Public Schools. In December, a gentleman broke into my home. He was charged with breaking and entering and assault. I currently have a restraining order against him. He is not allowed at my children's schools, Manchester Valley and Shiloh. The state of Maryland and Carroll County decided that I had enough against him, where they granted the restraining order that I have, and they took his firearms. He is a substitute teacher at Carroll County Public Schools. He has terrified my family. He's done multiple other things. He has targeted my children. He has called my son's school, admittedly, anonymously, had my son pulled out of class and embarrassed. He showed up at my daughter's school to substitute. He is now banned there for the next year. After that year, he has already asked if he could come back after that year. I have called state's attorneys. I have called the Maryland Victims Advocate Unit, the Special Victims Unit. I have called Hampstead Police Department multiple times, and the Sheriff's Department. I've even called the Board of Education, where I was told I had to contact the schools directly, which I have. But my question to you, and I know this isn't a question and answer session, so I apologize, but I'd like to know what the screening process for your substitute teachers are. Do you do background checks? How often are they done? And what is the criteria for someone failing a background check, where they're not allowed to substitute in Carroll County Public Schools anymore? My children are terrified, and I am terrified. And I don't feel like, I mean, I love my town of Hampstead. I love Carroll County Schools, but I feel like I'm not getting any backup as far as from the Board of Education or the Police Department about what to do to protect my children. And also the other children. I know all of us here, or most of us here, have children or grandchildren in Carroll County Public Schools. And this man is a predator. He has, I mean, literally terrified my family to the point where I've got cameras up, I've got extra locks on my doors. I've actually thought of moving just to get away from him. But that's all I wanted to say. I hope somebody can help me, somebody can get back to me, because I don't know where to go or what to do. Thank you.
Ms.
Thank you.
Baptist is waiting for you right now.
Anybody else with the blue card? Thank you very much.
All right, and that concludes our public comments. Now we will continue on with our participation with employee groups. Teresa Basler-McCullough. thank you. Not today. Okay, and Miss Diane Deal. And Vicki.
Hi, I'm Vicki Wagner. I'm here with Diane Deal. I'm the Vice President of CASE. I'm replacing Jeannie Henderson, who recently retired. Diane is not speaking tonight because she's been battling laryngitis. The CASE negotiation team has met with the CCPS negotiating team on October 9th, December 17th, January 17th, February 5th, February 26th, May 2nd, May 13th, May 28th, June 4th, June 13th, June 20th, July 9th, July 12th, and July 23rd. That's 14 meetings. We negotiated in good faith. Today we submitted our best and final, and we will wait to hear from the board.
Thank you. All right, now we will move on to board members and the superintendent's updates. Who would like to go first? You go right ahead, young man.
So my activity that I had in between our last board meeting was I went to the MABE orientation for new Schwabs, and so I got to meet 16 other Schwabs from around the state, or their SMOBs, their student members, but that distinction is not important. So it was very informative. I got to learn a lot about my position and what the board does versus what the superintendent does. The legal stuff MABE runs is awesome experience.
Great, I'm glad to hear that. Who would, Dr. Dorsey, would you like to go next?
I will. Mine is very short. But anyway, on July 19th, I had the opportunity to attend the Education That is Multicultural meeting, and it was held here at Central Office. And during that meeting, we participated in a discussion of the protocol findings for all of the school regions on the work of the equity liaisons for the year. And their work, the liaisons' work, involved implementing ETM, or education that's multicultural, in our schools. And it was quite rewarding to hear of the progress that a lot of the liaisons had made, and a lot of their inroads as far as diversity and equity are concerned. So that was a very informative meeting. And then on that same day, I also visited Camp Accelerate, which was held at William Winchester Elementary. And I was very impressed by the staff members who were there, and including, Pam Mesta and Brian and a teacher, and Velma, who provided the nutritious meal that day. But it was just so very exciting and rewarding to see all of those English language learners who were participating in the engaging STEM activities. So those were my couple of activities for the month.
Okay. And Ms. Battaglia?
So just a couple of events. I attended the CASE, which is Curriculum for Agriculture Science Education Dinner that was held at Francis Scott Key. 20 teachers from all over the country came for the week-long learning opportunity of training in hands-on labs. And I would like to thank Mr. McNeff for the invitation and the opportunity to meet and talk with other staff members and other teachers from across the country. The week of July 27th was our cherished Carroll County 4-H and FFA fair. Always the children involved, they never disappoint. I love seeing all their projects. I love seeing what many of our elementary schools have done with the embryology projects. They have their chickens on display, so it was good to see a good amount of those there. And next year's, so go ahead and mark your calendar now, is August 1st, we'll start out. And I'll toot a little horn real quick and congratulate my son. The cake auction has always been a really big contributor to the 4-H fair, and it helps keep the fair free so families can come. So he received Grand Champion and made a bacon chocolate cake. It sold for $15,000, so thank you to all the businesses that we have in Carroll County that contribute. We do a lot of partnerships with them here as well for within the school system. So if anybody wants a cupcake, see me afterward. I want to say good luck to all the students that are currently, as we speak, at tryouts for high school sports. Good luck to every single one of them. And since this is our last meeting before school starts, good luck to all our students, all our teachers, and all our parents. And let's hope we have a wonderful year.
Thank you. And Mr. Kyler.
Not a lot of school activities considering the time of year, but I was blessed enough to go to a lot of community events. And I'll just name them quickly. But what's interesting, at each event, some were statewide, some were local. Some knew that I'm a member of the Board of Education, some didn't. But education, Board of Education, by many, many of the politicians was discussed, which I find comforting. It's nice to hear that everybody's looking at things. But I went to the Tall Scribe in Clambake and Crisfield, Sandy Mount Park. Commissioner Weaver had to walk through, and there were a bunch of citizens there that wanted to talk. I went to the cake auction, but I didn't have enough money to buy a cake.
He bought a pig instead.
Yes. Went to the livestock auction. Went to the KV Pig Roast with Governor Hogan and Lieutenant Governor Rutherford. And the Carroll Business Challenge at Carroll Art Center. And some of the events there are just so super. I did go to the Case dinner at Francis Scott Key, and that was interesting. Like Ms. Pataglia said, teachers from all over the country, and they did a Buttersburg Inn dinner for them so they'd see what Maryland's like. And very, very well-planned and well-executed event, and it was fun to talk to some of the people from all around the country. Thank you.
All right, and mine's also short and sweet. A lot of fair events. It was great to see students from Carroll County and just showing their pigs and their bunny rabbits and doing floats and selling cakes, and it was a very exciting week. If anybody's interested in buying a pig, a Berkshire, I have one, well, my granddaughter has one for sale, but it was fun, and it was just, it's a great time to have the students and the community work together, and it would not be free without the help of the community. I did do my first school visit. I went up and welcomed Miss Mobley from Francis Scott Key. And I thought last week would be a good time to get up there. It was nice and quiet, and we sat down and talked for a few minutes, and it was just, I wanted to just welcome her to the community, and best of luck on her first day coming up real soon. And for a lot of you knew Virginia Harrison, our board member from last year, and she became very ill, and she came off a cruise, and she's been very, very critically ill. But I just wanted to let everyone know that she's doing much better now. She is in rehab in York, Pennsylvania, and you can all wish her thoughts and prayers of getting well. So I just wanted to let everyone know that. And Dr. Lockhart, and now it's your turn.
Thank you, Mrs. Herbert. Good evening, everybody. A couple of staff announcements I'd like to share, and students. I want to congratulate 2 teachers from our Career and Technology Center, masonry teacher Mike Campanelli and welding teacher Mike Schweinsberg. They are among 50 semifinalists for the 2019 Harbor Freight Tools for Schools Prize for Teaching Excellence. This is a national competition. They entered the competition as a team, highlighting how the welding and masonry programs often work together on projects. It's way more involved than what I'm sharing with you here. The semifinalists, the 50 semifinalists, were chosen from nearly 750 applicants nationwide. The first place prize is $100,000. So we congratulate and say good luck to Mike and Mike as they continue through the competition, and we'll provide updates as we get them. 2 Century High School students, Brianna Muchella Prada and Marie Walters, have been selected to represent Maryland as delegates to the 2019 Global Youth Institute in Des Moines, Iowa, this coming October. To apply to the Institute, students had to research and write a paper on a global challenge related to hunger and food insecurity. Brianna focused her research on poverty, food insecurity, and education in Argentina. Marie's research dealt with Kenya's need to increase agricultural production in the face of deforestation, soil degradation, and climate change. Each year, 200 exceptional high school students from around the world are selected to participate in the Institute around the world. They will interact with Nobel and World Food Prize laureates, heads of state, and other leaders from more than 65 countries and discuss pressing food security and agricultural issues with international experts. Student delegates present their research, discuss their findings with these international experts and their peers. They connect with other students from around the world, tour cutting-edge industrial and research facilities, and take part in symposium discussions with global leaders in science, industry, and policy. This is a huge stage and a huge accomplishment for two Carroll County Public School students at Century High School. So we say congratulations to Brianna and Marie on this outstanding accomplishment, and we're incredibly proud of their work as well. Finally, we're very thankful for all the work going on in our schools and on our campuses all summer long. A lot of people don't see all the behind-the-scenes things that happen to get things ready for welcoming back students. We've got fall sports and extracurriculars already underway. We saw our Century High School band this evening performing the national anthem, so we're excited to be welcoming students back to campus and look forward to the start of school in 20 days. Thank you, Ms. Herbert.
Thank you. That's very exciting. So now we will move on to presentations. We haven't had one for a while, so we will have our Pillar 2 update. And Mr. Anderson, good evening.
Good evening. Good evening, Vice President Herbert, Dr. Lockard, members of the board. It is August, so August in our continuous improvement plan is an update on Pillar number 2, that being strengthening productive family and community partnerships. This evening, what I am going to attempt to do is to just review and remind the community of the 3 objectives that we have within Pillar number 2. There's been communication between CCPS and the community demonstrates transparency, trust, and respect. Objective number 2 is CCPS does seek out, welcomes, and engages in parent and community volunteers to enhance student achievement. And then objective 2.3, which is CCPS partners with local government, businesses, and agencies to support student learning. The data points, as a reminder, our community advisory participation is something that we wanted to look at, and we collected a baseline last year, as well as our ESSA climate survey, which we're still patiently waiting for, which I'll be referring to later, as well as the newly implemented CCPS International Telephone Line, the Cultural Expo participation, Special Education Family Support Nights, and the Title I Community Engagement Evenings. As you can see within our first focus area, meaningful, informative, timely, respectful, two-way, multimodal between CCPS and community, you can see that when we first looked at our baseline of the Community Advisory Committee or Council, 35% of the schools were participating. Our goal for this year, once again, after we did the revision during the work session, was that 50% of our schools would participate in the CAC. So in the month of February, we were around 45% of our schools participating. And Ms. Gaddis informed me a couple weeks ago that we did achieve 52% of our schools showing participation in the CAC this year. And we've had extensive conversations on how we can continue to improve that number by providing more board directives and those types of things as we move forward. The second piece, as I mentioned earlier, is the ESSA, basically the survey, which is going to be a survey of students as well as staff. We are still waiting for the results of that, and that should be coming in with the report card we received from the state. So we anticipate and eagerly wait to see if that will arrive sometime early fall when we do receive a report card. I think last year we started receiving our actual formal report card in the month of November, so hopefully we have something a little bit before that this coming year. When you get into focus area number 2, the intentional appropriate outreach to our families of minority students, students living in poverty and special needs and English learners, you can see there that the CCPS language line, basically we were implementing it this year, actually a year ago. As of February, we had 288 requests for the language line. You can see there that we actually exceeded 1,200 by June 30th. I did put a little disclaimer in there, though, that overall, when you look at the actual language line in addition to the actual email request, which traditionally and historically we've used, we have over 8,000 requests. We looked at that several times, and what we're seeing here is that, number one, this is a great indicator that we are engaging our community, and most importantly, that those families that maybe historically have been a bit intimidated or trying to figure out ways to communicate with our schools now have an actual avenue to have that communication take place. And not only do they have the avenue, but they're taking advantage of it, which we're very, very happy with. Something I do want to share on the next one was the Cultural Expo, which is coming up next week, August 21st, actually. We were hoping, when we first started, we had about 428 participants. We were hoping for a 10% increase. It's my pleasure to share with you guys this evening that as of today, Laura Dolan, actually who's working on the committee with Judy Jones, has informed me that we are at 629 right now that will be attending the Cultural Expo on the 21st of August. We're really excited about that, and that is a success to the entire organization that has pulled together to make this happen. The next measure was looking at our special education family support nights. Again, baseline was 74. As of February, we had 61 families had participated, and Mr. Shockey and his team informed me that overall, as of June, at the end of June, 89 families participated this year. So we actually met that goal and exceeded it as well. Finally, the last goal, Dr. Dorsey, you can see there that we went ahead and we changed that goal, the long-range goal as well, but we've kept it that we are going to increase the percentage of families that are attending at least one of the events. And we're going to continue to look at this goal, though, because although we feel comfortable that in saying that, yeah, great, 35% of our families attended at least one family engagement, we expect more. And so, yeah, we want to increase the percentage of families attending at least one engagement, but we want to also look at what types of engagements that we're offering that they're attending. For example, if we hold our conferences, which is a family and community engagement opportunity, and we get 35% of our families, then we've met it. We got it. But we want to go ahead and look at how it is that we're engaging, and are they coming to other things that maybe aren't your traditional types of opportunities. So we're going to be working and looking at that as well. March commitments, when we sat here in March, we had said to you that we were going to update the CCPS Parent, Family, and Community Engagement Policy and Regulations. We mentioned they were in the process of being updated, and I'm proud to say this evening that I'll be coming back up later to share with you actually the Community Engagement Policy. I believe that was written in 2008 or 2004. It slips my mind right now, but what we've done is we've taken the Community Engagement Policy and we've broken it into three, that being community policy, a family engagement policy, and a business engagement policy, which we're very proud of. We said to you we want to re-image their current roles to become more contemporary and focus on supporting systemic goals, which I'm going to share with you in a second. Increase the marketing and promotion of systemic engagements through our communication team, seeking greater participation through awareness. We wanted to take time to provide an analysis of the Speak Up survey recently completed this past year to be responsive to our community and families, and then increase our presence with the families of our historically underperforming student populations. And I've mentioned also we were hoping to have some information on the ESSA Climate Survey. As I said, we will be bringing Policy KC an update. We went ahead and broke out then the business engagement piece, which will be Policy KG, which we'll be bringing to you, as well as Policy KB, family engagement, later on this evening. We have taken two interpreters that have fallen in the Office of Interpretation and Translation, and we have re-imaged them to become Hispanic student liaisons. So basically Hispanic student achievement liaisons, where two individuals will be working with our families, and we've broken up the county into two different areas, and we're trying to really combat our graduation rates as well as our attendance as well of that specific student population. These individuals are collaborating and working with students, their families, and the administrators at each building. As I mentioned earlier, two individuals will be re-imaged and repurposed from interpreter positions. One will be housed at South Carroll and one will be housed at West Middle. I also mentioned the need for us to begin to market and promote more systemic engagements. We continue to use School Messenger, Channel 21, our website, and as you all know, we approved this past year Policy GBEE, Responsible Use of Social Media, where we are increasing our followers on Twitter as well as Facebook, and also now Instagram as well. I did want to bring this piece of the Speak Up survey to your attention because it's something that continuously reminds us that we have lots of work to do yet. This gives you an indication based on the results that we received. And again, I can share the report, the entire report with you upon your request, but essentially what this is showing is that we're pretty comparable, and in a lot of areas we're doing much better than what the national norm or standard has been or is. But there is a lot of work to be done here. And so this kind of data we're sitting down, we're looking at, and we're deciding, okay, how can we provide some remedies to build some more confidence, if you will, with our community to make certain that we're being responsive and also timely in our responses as well, so that folks are feeling like they are engaged and they're aware. But I'm more than happy to provide that entire report with the board. Again, historically underserved, many of you are aware of the work that we did this past year, working with our community churches, our Black ministries, Strawbridge United Methodist, White Rock United Methodist, our student voice. You're very familiar with that. You heard from our students, I believe it was a May or June board meeting when they came in. We took that time to go around to all our high schools. We're going to continue to do that work. We're actually going to go ahead and make it an appropriate type of method also for our middle schools. We're considering doing as well and getting more voice at that level too. We've held a number of G&T receptions across the system last spring that really showcased the work of our students that are receiving G&T services, specifically in middle school. And then our international nights, which you guys are very familiar with at the elementary level, but no one can, it's hard to forget that one we had at CTC as well, where we had over 300 of our family members attending that as well. Again, ESSA Climate Survey will be reported with the Maryland State Report Card, so we're waiting patiently for that information. And so the conclusions is that we continue to explore innovative and contemporary approaches to engaging families and community and businesses through updating and introducing new policy and regulations. We'll be sharing that later. We were successful in meeting our annual goals, but there's a lot of work to do yet. We know that. Enhancing communication with our students and families continue to be a priority, since a significant portion of our families are not satisfied with our current efforts, and that's very clear. And we take that seriously, and that's something that we have to work on and continue to figure out ways in this day and age to make sure that we are being more responsive and more timely. And the final conclusion is we've made progress with our families of historically underserved students, but want to begin to draw linear relationships between engagement activities and achievement. And oftentimes folks will begin to talk about, this is great that you're having all these activities, but what is the direct impact? And we're going to start to look at drawing those actual relationships. And I can tell you this as a principal, that you don't get the achievement without the activities. So we're going to continue to work hard and bring those more novel, more contemporary, and more engaging activities to our community. Next steps, the next time that we meet in March, we've started working on the PTA, PTO organizations. We met with some national representatives with the PTA. And we will be pulling those schools that have current PTAs that want to come together. We only need 3 schools to have an actual council to start that work. So we're going to look at exploring that and see if people are interested in that. If so, we're going to continue to support that and advocate for that and support those schools with that. If other schools that are PTOs right now want to come and listen and watch and learn and say, that's not for us right now, we understand that too. We're not forcing anything on anyone, but we want to make that available for folks. And this is not in substitution of the Community Advisory Council. This is going to be something where we want to continue to build advocacy in our schools and letting our community know that we're there to support them. And then obviously continue to support and build our partnerships. Our ETM Council, as Dr. Dorsey said, she attended the most recent one, and it continues to grow. People want to be a part of it, which we're excited about. We just had a great meeting with Junior Achievement down the road. We have some exciting things planned there, Carroll County Libraries, and then continue to solidify, obviously, the partnerships that we have already. And that is it for this month.
Thank you.
Yeah. Questions?
Questions?
I have one question concerning the junior achievement that you just mentioned.
Yes.
How soon will we be starting that partnership?
Yeah. Not soon enough, right? So we spent, Colleen Enser, who's in the room right now, used to work at Junior Achievement, and she's actually set up the relationship with us, and I met with the executive vice president a couple weeks ago. We presently have a relationship with them right now in the middle schools. Okay. What we're looking to do is to continue to build that and grow that to the elementary schools. We're hoping to begin to explore what that may look like for a variety of our student populations. Historically, a lot of school systems go the direction of Title I, right, because they come with federal funds that can support such an initiative. We're working on a relationship right now where we can talk about what the cost would be and how we can share facilities and those types of things to solidify that type of relationship, business and educational relationship with junior achievement. So what I can share with you right now is that we brought in, Judy Klinger. We're using junior achievement right now, looking at their online tools. But it's very similar at the middle school as a Naviance, and getting kids to start thinking about what they want to do when they grow up, right? And providing a pathway for them at young ages, even in the late elementary school levels. So to have a clear answer to your question is we hope sometime this year that we go ahead and continue to grow the current relationship with additional grade levels than just our 7th and 8th grade. I believe that's taking place right now.
Okay. And then I just wanted to comment concerning those historically underserved students in the community churches. Just a point of clarification, it's White Rock Independent Church. They're
Correct.
no longer
It's
United
been corrected.
Methodist
Thank
Church.
you very, very much, and I'll make that correction.
Anyone else?
Just want to say thank you for all the work that you've done.
Thanks.
I know you and I have had several conversations and trying to do more collaborations in the community, and I look forward to seeing what else we can do.
We're listening, and again, we know that we're not going to let perfection be the enemy of progress. Well, I'm sure we're going to make mistakes along the way. We're going to continue to look at our data and our metrics and make the best decision possible. And I'd say this to the public, if we have any organizations or individuals out there that are looking to partner with us, we're listening and we're available. Okay.
Thank you for your
Thank you.
time.
Thank you.
Yep. Jason, I'd just like to thank you and your team for the presentation, but all the work behind the scenes and the outreach. We can see the impact here, and I'm looking forward to the next step.
Thanks. And Dr. Dorsey, thank you for acknowledging Camp Accelerate as well, because that's a huge community and partnership that we had with the Innovators Hall of Fame and Camp Invention, which is actually an acceleration program. So it was awesome. And Pam Mesta, Brian Shoemaker, and obviously the principal, Aaron, was integral in making all that happen. So
Yeah,
thank
and
you.
the kids were wonderful.
They were
so
awesome.
excited in those projects. That
The
they
attendance was
created.
amazing on a summer,
Yeah.
for a summer. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And now we will move on to reports. Our first report of the evening from Dr. Lockhart is the construction report.
Thank you, Ms. Herbert. As we do each month, we're bringing you the school construction report. It provides information on projects currently being administered by our construction department. There's information about each project under construction, budget, any associated issues or concerns. That's there for your review. We have staff available for any questions you may have on any of the items in the construction report.
Do we have any questions? Any yellow cards? Mr. Kyler.
Where does the work being done for the brickwork at Westminster High School fit in this? Is that part of this? Is that?
We're not showing it in this report. You're right. We're on schedule for the portions, the rear portion C, the C section of the building, and the main entrance. We're on schedule to have those ready for completion for the start of school. But there will be work next summer that we'll complete the other sections.
So of the phases, the main entrance, I was out there today, and the main entrance obviously is under construction.
Right.
The next phase is next summer. There's nothing during the school year that has to be done.
No, our intention is to not be interfering with the operation of the school.
Thanks.
Any others?
Well, I question, did we finish the South Carroll project, that area that was going to impact the fall sports? Says that the area would be completed by today. So did we meet that goal?
For the for the solar field.
Right, under the
solar field.
solar
Yeah,
field installation.
everything is on schedule. The cross-country track may have to be adjusted to accommodate, but we are on schedule for all of our capital projects and our maintenance projects for completion. Now, that of course means that there may be work after the start of the school year, but that'll be done in off hours, so as not to interfere with the operation.
Thank you. Now we'll move on to 5B, report on the Carroll County Teacher Advisory Council agenda topics for the 2019-2020 year. Dr. Lockard.
Okay, board members, so reports 5B through 5G are the administrative regulations for board policy BDF, advisory councils to the board. And that requires that each advisory council have an annual charge or set of specific items the council will focus on for the year. The following 6 items are the recommended topics for each of the councils, and they're presented for your discussion. So I think what we can do is take a look down through each of these. We bring you these annually, and certainly we have staff available who help lead and facilitate those committees or councils here as well.
Comments, questions? We have 5C.
Yes,
Okay. Go ahead, Dr. Dorsey.
I wanted to comment on 5C, the Curriculum Council. I will continue to be a member of that council. There were some conflicts last year with the ETM Council and the Curriculum Council meeting on the same dates. But as I looked ahead, it's really only one date that has a possible conflict, so I will serve on that.
Okay, thank you. And then we will move on to 5D, and that is a report on the Carroll County Career and Technology Advisory Council. Anybody have any comments on that one? They have their dates set up, Thursdays, for 1920. All right. We will move on now to 5E, report on Carroll County Special Education Citizens Advisory Committee and their topics. Does anyone have anything for that? All right, then we will move on to 5F, report on the Carroll County Community Advisory Council agenda for 2019-20. And I see no yellow cards. Then we will move on to 5F, report on the Carroll County Community Advisory Council agenda. Whoops, that just did that, excuse me, G. Report on the Carroll County Security Advisory Council agenda topics. We have no yellow cards? All right, then we will move on. Do we have anybody else for public comments at this time? No more citizen participation. All right, then we will move on to action items. And our first action item tonight is, do I have a motion to approve the appointments on 7A? Do I have a motion?
So moved.
By Ms. Battaglia and second by Mr. Kyler. Dr. Lockard.
Thank you, board members. I have 2 recommended appointments for you this evening. First, I recommend Terry Duryea to Coordinator of Curriculum Instruction for Technology, Media, and Technology, and then Jessica Smith for Principal of Freedom Elementary School.
Any comments?
Or a question/comment. And both have been in the system quite a few years.
Correct. As a reminder, and for the general public, each appointment we bring has gone through an extensive process and vetted references with lots of considerations through our standard HR protocol, and bring those to the board for recommendation and your approval.
Right. All right. All in favor? And the motion passes unanimously. And now, do I have a motion to approve personnel action items 7B?
So moved.
By Ms. Battaglia and second by
Oh.
Dr. Dorsey. And Dr. Locke.
Okay, board members, this evening I bring to you for your approval 62 new hires, 1 retire, rehire, 1 broken contract, 5 promotions, 2 leaves of absence, 8 increases, and 3 decreases, as outlined in the board agenda packet in front of you.
Comments? Chantress, you might want to give a little number to everyone, if you would like.
Sure will.
Thank you, to keep everybody abreast of what's going on.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Yes.
So as of today, we have had, since July the 1st, we've had 100 new educators hired. It's always a moving target. So today, we originally had 3 openings, which was a media, special education, and community learning. We filled the media position, and we have special education remains open, 1 position, 1 community learning, 1 speech language pathologist, and now 1 opening for elementary as a result of a transition.
Thank you, and I want to welcome all the new teachers, and not only teachers, anyone that has joined us this year, the CCPS team, and I welcome them all.
And on tomorrow, we will welcome 85 teachers to
Yeah.
our new teacher orientation.
Yes. All right, any other comments? Okay, all in favor? And the motion passes unanimously. And now we will move on to 7C. Do I have a motion to approve the award of bids?
So moved.
And second? Mr. Kyler. And here we are with the award of bids. Dr. Locker.
Very good. Board members, I have 7 items on the award of bids, and they're included in your agenda packet. I present to you the mechanical electrical services, HVAC replacement at Spring Garden Elementary School, the civil engineering services, the parking lot at Robert Moten, an expansion feasibility study at Winfield Elementary School, architectural engineering services, the replacement of windows at South Carroll and Westminster High Schools, risk mitigation. The 5th is playground equipment, Spring Garden Elementary School, and finally the last 2, Champion Officials Group and Old Line Board of Soccer officials. So board members, we're certainly here for any questions about any of the award of bid items in front of you.
Does anybody have any comments?
Well,
Yes, Dr. Dorsey.
I was just looking at the discrepancy on that, for the first one, attachment number 2, the award of bids for the civil engineering services for the work at Robert Moten and the feasibility study for Winfield. I'm just looking at the price and the discrepancies that are noted there, and I see which one we're recommending that we go with, but again, the others were just so far above what this person, or what this company, I'm sorry, had put in for.
Good evening, Ms. Conner.
Good evening. Yes, there is a large discrepancy, but before we make the award, we always do a scope review with the contractor to make certain that they do understand the scope of services, and AdTech has done a lot of work with us, and they are very familiar with the project, so that is why they are able to come in so much lower. And they have done successful jobs with us in the past.
Any other questions? Comments? Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'll call for the vote. All those in favor? Passes unanimously. And now we will move on to, do I have a motion to approve the Board Policy EH Data Governance, 7D?
So moved.
And second? And Mr. Kyler? And
Thank you, Ms. Herbert.
Dr. Lockard, you're on again. We're moving on.
If you remember at the July Board of Education meeting, Mr. Bricka presented
Yes, he did.
background information on the proposed new policy, the need for the policy first. He included a brief analysis of system impact, connections to current policies, and relevant references there. We have not received any additional input or feedback as it relates to the proposed policy, so we're returning it to you for action this evening. and we went ahead and provided the administrative regulations along with that for your information. Mr. Bricka is here in case you have any additional questions.
Okay. Board members, do we have any comments or questions? I would just like to thank you for all your time that you put into this. Anytime he does any of this stuff with data governance, I really do appreciate it. Anyone else? Okay, I call for the vote. All those in favor? Passes unanimously.
Thank you, Mr. Bricka, for your work there.
And do I have a motion to approve the Carroll County Curriculum Council's membership 2019 to 2020?
So moved.
Second?
Hang on, we got one other, 7E.
Did I miss one?
Yes, the student data
Oh,
privacy.
okay. Well, we're going to back up. I am human. Okay.
That's quite all right.
That's okay.
Yep.
Approval of board policy AF, student data privacy. Do I have a motion? Ms. Battaglia, do I have a second?
Second comment. Mr. Johnson were here.
I know. He would have said something smart. I know that. And that's okay. And we'll wave to him. All right.
Just briefly,
Dr. Locker.
board members, right, I believe it was the June meeting or May meeting. The May meeting, we initially brought the student data privacy policy, a revised version, so we could update procedures and operational definitions to protect personally identifiable student information while using digital tools for instructional purposes. We have received feedback. We have incorporated legal review as it relates to our proposed policy, and so we bring that to you this evening for approval.
All right. Any other comments? And I call for the vote. All those in favor? And it passes unanimously. Now we'll move on to 7F. Do I have a motion to approve the Carroll County Curriculum Council membership 2019-2020?
So moved.
And moved by Ms. Battaglia and a second by
I'll second
Dr.
it.
Dorsey.
And again, please indicate that I'm going to be the representative from the board.
Okay. And Dr. Dorsey's going to be the representative there. Any other comments? These are very self-explanatory. It's we go through this every year if anybody has any questions. All right. I call for the vote. All those in favor? And motion passes unanimously. Now we will move on to, and may I have a motion to approve Carroll County Career and Technology Education Local Advisory Council membership 2019 to 2020.
So moved.
Thank you, Ms. Battaglia. And second,
Second.
Mr. Kyler. Thank you very much. And Dr. Lockhart. We have just the names of the council people.
Thank you. So this is, I want to make sure I'm with you here. Right, the administrative regs for board policy BDF, advisory councils to the board, require I bring you appointees for each council in August of every year. And so the following 6 items are my recommended council memberships, which are submitted for your approval in alignment with policy and regulations BDF.
So we go through these. Do we want to do these all together then? I think that would make sense. I don't know why we'd have to go through any of that. We have the special education, and I am on that advisory committee, and I just love that committee, and I learn something every time I go to those meetings. CAC, Carroll County Teachers Advisory Council, Ms. Battaglia is a member of that.
Yep.
And very good, and we will be giving them little jobs to do this year. Please, yes. Ms. Gaddis definitely wants them to have some jobs. And then we have Security Advisor membership, which I am on. And Ms. Battaglia, I think you're on that council also. And then we move on to the approval of the Carroll County Community Advisory Council. And boy, Dr. Dorsey has her hand up. Yes, ma'am.
I just wanted to go back to the Security Advisory Council for the bargaining units. For Mr. Lavender, we have to change his position. He's no longer at Shiloh.
No, he is
Northwest.
at Northwest. Thank you for that correction. So, any other comments all the way through K, correct, Dr. Lockert?
That is correct.
All right. All in favor? And the motion passes unanimously. And now I need to have a motion to approval of the Maryland Association of Education, that's Maryland MABE dues for 2019-2020. So, and we have Dr. Dorsey for the motion, and I need a second.
Second.
Thank you. Ms. Pataglia.
Right. So board members, this is your annual membership dues to participate in MABE.
Does anybody have any comments or questions? I will say one thing, that Mr. Kyler and I are on the legislative one, and I am telling you, we go down there approximately every other week when they're in session, and it is a very eye-opening learning curve every time we go there, and because there's always something going on, something changing minute by minute, and it's very interesting, especially since things have definitely changed within the 2 or 3 years with monies down the road.
Yep.
So, you have Mr. Kyler?
Yeah, and almost all of the activities they do, similar to the orientation you discussed earlier, you're there with people from all throughout the state, so you hear how the other boards do it. This is a great organization and well worth the money.
Any other comments?
I just want to say, you know, when my schedule allows, I do enjoy attending many of the information forums that they have.
Right.
Yeah, it's you get to understand a little bit more in detail for things, and it's nice to hear what different counties are doing, you know, adjusting to different situations. So I really do, and I think it's worth everything.
Any other comments? All right, I call for the vote. All those in favor? And the motion passes unanimously. And at this time, I need a motion to approve the transfer of bus contracts.
So moved.
And I need a second. Mr. Kyler, please.
Okay, board members, occasionally we bring these to you. I'm recommending approval of a school bus contract based on contractor's requests. Contracts number 140 and 386 from Robert Bruce Whitty Sr. to Mark Garcia, effective July 1st, 2019.
Comments? All right, I call for the vote. All those in favor? And it passes unanimously. And now I need a motion to approve the Carroll County Health Department contract, vision and hearing screening follow-up. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
By Ms. Pataglia, and a second by Dr. Dorsey. Thank you.
Board members, this contract provides cost sharing between Carroll County Health Department and Carroll County Public Schools for vision and hearing screening follow-ups for students, which is required by law. The contract's for the 1920 school year.
And Dr. Dorsey, yes.
I have a question concerning fiscal impact. We're saying NA on the cover, but further along, it looks like it's $75,000.
And Mr. O'Neill's coming forward.
Tight squeeze through there.
Thank you.
No fiscal impact because it's already accounted for in the budget. It's an annual contract, and so Ms. Gomes and Mr. Streeter and their folks work with Mr. Hartlove's team to know it's in the budget, but you still have to approve the contract legally.
So it's not indicated here.
Correct.
Because it's
already
accounted for in the
budgeted. This contract's not going to change your operating budget. It's in there.
Thank you. Any other comments? Yes, Ms. Battaglia.
Just want to say this is a fantastic program. I've been able to volunteer for this program with when they do the different age groups, because sometimes parents can't identify if their child is having a vision problem or a hearing problem in the classroom. So I'm glad that we do offer this for our students.
Thank you. Anything else? I call for the vote. All those in favor? And the motion passes unanimously. And now I need a motion for the approval of before and after school child care leases.
So moved.
And moved by Dr. Dorsey, and I need a second by...
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Battaglia.
Board members, at most of our elementary schools, we lease space before and after schools through nonprofit organizations. Those leases are reviewed annually and brought for your approval here. To note, the agencies do pay a square footage fee for the use of the required space.
Mr. Kyler.
How do these compare to past years? Or is it pretty consistent? You'd be disappointed if I didn't ask something, right?
That's all right. I enjoyed myself. The consistency, it's based on the license. Each child care provider has a license for a certain number of students. So that number does, the formula is pretty straightforward, but the number of students translates to a certain number of square footage, and that square footage then is the cost that we apply. Since our budget, our operating budget, which is how we determine our square foot cost, has been relatively flat from that perspective, that fee, that square foot cost is relatively consistent. But then it all depends on the number of a number of students or the number of the kids in the program for each school.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Does anybody else have any other questions? I call for the vote. All those in favor? And the motion passes unanimously. Now I need a motion for the appointment of board members to the Construction Planning Committee for the East Middle School Replacement Project. Do I have a motion? Okay. And Ms. Battaglia, moved by, and then second by Dr. Dorsey. And board members, anybody have any comments? I will make one if nobody, I think I would like to have Mr. Kyler on this one because he is our construction man.
If possible, if you have a second board member.
Dr. Locker. Can we have a second?
Yes, we can have two.
All right. So we can have Mr. Kyler and Ms. Battaglia.
You're in charge tonight, so I guess I'm on it.
There you are. Yes, I really do want you on that. Yes.
Yeah,
I think that would be great. Thank you.
definitely.
All right, all in favor? And the motion passes unanimously. And now we're moving on to discussion, and we have a proposed comprehensive maintenance plan for educational facilities. Dr. Locker.
All right, board members, the state public school construction program requires that each Maryland school system maintains an annual comprehensive maintenance for all facilities. This plan is prepared each year, brought to the board for discussion at the August meeting each year, and then returned to the board for approval in September. Again, this is the proposed comprehensive maintenance plan.
And do we have any comments, questions to Dr. Locker? And again, this will come back again for approval in September. Comments, questions? Dr. Dorsey.
Well, I'm only suggesting when it comes back that those tables that we have, the scheduled maintenance tables.
On page?
Starting in section 2.
Yes.
But again, I think with the darkened section, it's
It
hard
might look
to-
different,
yeah,
yes.
it's hard to
It-
read
it's
all of
very-
those
it was-
names.
It was difficult to read.
So that's just the only request I have for
All right.
making it more visible for us.
Because if anybody gets it, this is what it looks like. It's kind of black, and it is difficult to read, even if I have trifocals. Anything else? All right. All in favor, raise your hands, please. And the motion passes unanimously. And now we'll move on to our second discussion, review and update of policy IKAB, grading homework and communicating student achievement policy. Dr. Locker.
Thank you,
And we have
Mr.
Mr.
Anderson.
Anderson. He's back up.
Yeah, good evening once again. So basically, this is a directive that we received from the Maryland State Department of Education in regards to grade changes. So what we did is we went into our current policy of IKAB and made updates under the section of grade appeals, which is now grade changing procedures. You can see underneath grade changing procedures, based on our directive, we needed to provide the name of personnel at each school, central office, who are authorized to make final grade changes. Section C was documentation, obviously, of the authorization, the name of the teacher requesting the final grade, the reason for the grade change, the signature of the person approving the grade change, the reason for approval, date of approval, and signature of the principal. And then finally, Section D is how and when the school system will audit the validity of the grade changes each year. This is also part of the recent state-facilitated internal review of our graduation records and reports. So this is something that all counties are being required to do now. We have to submit this to MSDE by October 1st, so we're bringing it to you for to put out for public comment as well, to get any insights so we could have a final board approval at our September meeting.
Questions, comments? Yellow cards up. Dr. Dorsey? Oh, okay. No, that's okay. Anybody else?
I do.
Jackson down there.
Jackson?
And then Ms. Pataglia.
Yes, okay.
How did it operate beforehand? How did the grade changing procedure operate beforehand?
Yeah, I think very similarly, and I can call up Mr. King if needed, but it basically worked very similarly. I think what we're being held responsible now for is the actual documentation, if you will, and making sure that it's not just done in our internal services, perhaps in our technology that we offer through eSchool, but perhaps also having a quality control that's provided and making sure that there's multiple people that are included in the decision making. I think historically we may have had, we didn't have a large number of grade changes. Those that we had changes were because of health reasons, those types of things, that maybe the students had to complete work at a later time. But Mr. King, I don't know if I'm missing anything or if you want to share anything in addition.
Yeah, I would concur. They have been rare, few and far between. There are obviously parent-grade appeals that have resulted in a grade change. There have been situations where teachers, due to illness, literally were just gone and could not participate in their job, couldn't finish their duties, and other folks had to take over and change grades and help students make things up. And then certainly there's the incomplete process where a student was given an incomplete and then given a chance to make up the work, and then you have to go in and put the grade in. This is going to formalize our process, and as Mr. Anderson said, is going to give us data that we're going to keep track of. That's going to be, there's going to be more of a paper trail. That's the bottom line.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. King.
Another
And
piece.
Ms. Tag- the only thing I was going to say is we're just complying with the state.
We are, and
Thank you.
it's just, once again, it's just bettering our processes. And again, there's that 45-day period also now that's been recognized and put inside as well. It has to be done within that.
Okay, thank you very much. Yes, and Mr. Kyler, don't go away yet.
Okay.
And I think, you said this is out for public comment now?
It will be, yeah, like with any type of revision to our policy, we're going to go ahead and put it out there for so folks can provide feedback or something like that if
So-
they have any questions.
So it's for discussion tonight and has to be approved at the next meeting because by October 1st it has to be at the state.
That's correct.
But it may or may not have some changes next month because of
Feedback that we
Feedback.
receive, and any feedback that we receive or anything that we get, any additional insights that we receive, we'll make sure that we bring to you before the vote.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, any other comments or questions? And now we will have, discuss the proposed policy KG, business engagement.
Right, so if I may, I'd like to go ahead and start with policy KC, please, which is community engagement, which is the current policy that we had. And as I mentioned earlier in pillar number 2, the pillar number 2 presentation, we're taking policy KC and we're breaking it out into 3 different areas: a community engagement policy, a family engagement policy, and a business engagement policy. The reason why we're going that direction is because now with pillar number 2, we feel like we need to provide a detailed and a direct effort in all 3 of those areas, if you will, as we move forward. So with me this evening is Marta Drody, who is an experienced professional, a veteran, if you will, educator, is actually a grandmother of 2 of our students, lives in Hanover. Her grandchildren go to Manchester Elementary School, and she and I worked together in a previous life. She's a national consultant, and she does some work for us on an hourly basis. I'm sure you've seen Marta in a couple different situations within the work that we're presently doing. I consulted Marta as well as working with my team of Pam Mesta, Cindy Zimmerman, Colleen Enser, Patty Burns, Steve Wernick, and also our Title I team, and Judy Jones also. Judy was there as well. We basically have taken the last several months, and I say the last several months, we've waited patiently, and we wanted to make sure that we had the most current literature and research that supports the new draft of these 3 policies for your consideration. Again, policy KC is community engagement, which has been revised. We have now brought to you KG, which is business engagement. I'm sorry. Yeah, KG, which is 8C, and then KB, which is family engagement. And all 3 of these are once again, focusing on different areas of our community. Once again, these will be brought and placed for our community feedback, as Mr. Kyler was referencing earlier. Then we will come back with any feedback that we received and ask for your approval to move forward.
Just add one quick comment here as we consider these. I really think this is an effective approach. There's so much involved with engagement within our community, and it's really hard to capture in a single policy because the engagement we do with businesses is different than families, is different than communities. So I appreciate the work here to really look at that sort of in a separate lens, and I think it bodes well for us moving forward, so thank you.
Yeah, and also I want a big thanks to Ray and the facilities team. He's been a part of our conversations as we're moving forward, and I know he has plans to automatize, if you will, and make it more of a digital type of approval process moving forward, and we want to keep that a part of our work as well. There's a lot of work we're doing now with our business partners, which require the use of our facilities. There's a lot of things involved with that. There's many groups competing for our facilities as well. So there's lots of things to take in consideration, and the more support and guidance we can provide our building level leaders, I think the easier it makes their job as well.
Comments on 8C, 8D, and 8E? First of all, I want to thank you for all the hard work, because this is amazing. When I saw all this, and I'm thinking, you hit it all right on the nail, because what we're working on are relationships, and that's how it all starts. And I just think this is just a wonderful, wonderful work here that you guys...
the team did all this work, and
Right.
It's been months.
Yeah, and you've got a good secretary, so that's
Have
very
a great
important.
one. Yeah.
Yes.
Have a great one.
But now, I want to thank everybody, because this is a lot of hard work. Anybody else want to make any comments? I think I hit it right on the head,
Yeah, we
because
just
this is a
appreciate,
lot
yeah.
of hard work.
So now we just have to get the approval, and then we'll put it in place.
Yeah,
And we'll
and
work at it.
we'll wait for our feedback and go from there.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. And now we will move on to 8F. We will just have a discussion on the appointment of the Construction Planning Committee for the East Middle School Replacement Project.
All right.
And this is different because it doesn't involve the board members.
Right, this
Dr.
is
Lockwood.
really informational for you. Earlier, board members, you appointed 2 of yourselves to serve on the committee, and after you, at a recent work session, after you did approve a replacement, and board meeting, after you approved a replacement school project for East Middle in July, I went ahead and followed our board policy and administrative regulation, BDFB, Committee for New Construction and Major Renovation, and appointed a construction planning committee for the East Middle School replacement project. The committee is detailed for you in the agenda packet there, item 8F, is that what? Yes, F. And in addition to complying with our own policy and regulations, the committee is in compliance with the Maryland Public School Construction Program administrative procedures. So there you can see the committee members in the agenda packet.
Does anybody have any comments? Mr. Kyler?
So based on 7P, this is a committee that Ms. Pataglia and I will be on, and
Yes.
that can be added. So the only to be determined at this point in time, City of Westminster, correct?
We actually have
And there he is.
the mayor.
There's the mayor.
Yeah.
And Mr. O'Neill.
Actually, the mayor is here, so thank you for
Yes.
recognizing him. The mayor and the
Thanks for
council
coming.
have gone out of their way to work with our staff to make sure that we're in sync with them as the project begins to now develop. And we talked about the likelihood that between the two sites still under consideration, there might be a lot of connections that need to be made relative to the one site. And so Mayor Dominic asked that we just hold sort of a place on the committee for someone from their staff to serve on as needed, and we appreciated that outreach, and the superintendent was kind enough to make that happen. So.
Thank you. Any other comments on that? All right, and then we will move on to unfinished business. And the CAC committee will not meet till next month. Do you remember the date on that for CAC? If we'll have anything by September? That's okay. But then we will move on. Okay. We will have, anybody else have any unfinished business?
Real quick, Heroin Still Kills video is September 9th at North Carroll Library from 6:30 to 8:30.
Yes. Yes. If anybody's interested in going to North Carroll, I'll put that on my calendar.
Yep.
All right, so here we are. 1 o'clock, Wednesday, September 4th, 2019, Board Negotiations Retreat, followed by the Student Data Transfer Policy Work Session and the Elementary Behavior Task Force Report Work Session in the boardroom at 125 North Court Street, Westminster. Then we have on 1:30, Thursday, September 5th, Board of Education and Board of County Commissioners will have a joint meeting at the County Office Building, the Reagan Room, at 225 North Center Street. And then the final one is at 2 p.m. Wednesday, September 11th. We will have Gifted and Talented Program Work Session, followed by a closed session and the 5 p.m. regular board meeting in the boardroom here at 125 North Court Street, Westminster. Anything else, Dr. Locke?
Have a great start to the school year, everyone.
Yes. And do I have a motion to close the board meeting?
So moved.
Yes, Tara can do it. And do I have a second? Dr. Dorsey. And all in favor? And it passed unanimously. And thank you for putting up with me tonight. Thank you.